Welcome to Vets Remembered, an oral history. I am your host, Craig Yamauchi, and I have a wonderful guest with me today. This is Dr. Will Rogers. He's a doctor of veterinary medicine, and he is a Korean War veteran who spent his time in the Navy, and this guy is just incredibly fascinating with what his experiences were, and actually, even though a lot of the stuff he says is funny, I would not want to catch myself being in those positions because that would have scared daylights out of me. So, Dr. Rogers, when did you enter the Navy?
I was in my third year in college. I just signed my names in my books, and the recruiter called up and said, "Your draft papers are going in the mail tomorrow. You want me to pull them out and you can come back and enlist?" I thought it over and I decided I'd rather have a place to sleep than be digging a foxhole in Siberia. This was in 1950, the fall of 49.
And you were at the University of Madison?
I was just transferred to the University of Wisconsin in Madison.
Okay. And what were you studying at that time?
I was in a general course.
You were in a what?
A general course.
Oh, just in a general course.
Yeah.
You hadn't chosen any.
I hadn't made a major
Major yet. And after you got out of the Navy, did you choose to go into veterinary medicine?
Yes.
Did. Fascinating field. This gentleman had got out of bed one day. One evening, actually, I called him up because I had an animal that was just in terrible condition. And he was kind enough to get out of bed and come down and take care of my pet. And that's how I met this guy. And when I discovered he was a Korean War veteran, I had to get him on the show because it was just a must. We do not get very many Korean War veterans, and I really would like to get a whole lot more because this war, unfortunately, was one that people swept under the rug and didn't want to remember, and it's better known as the Forgotten War. Dr. Rogers, were you were in electronics when you were in the Navy? You were on a destroyer called the USS Cunningham. Could you explain to us what your duties were and the things you went through while you were in the Navy?
Well, our duties were to keep the equipment repaired and in top operating condition. Any battle damage or anything we had to repair. Anything broke down. That was back in the days of tubes. When I got discharged, they were replacing the tubes with transistors, and you just go up and plug in a unit.
Did they call that solid state?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At that time, we had to go up and replace the tubes, check the tubes, and do this kind of thing. Anything required repair. Essentially, at night, what you were doing was going back up and throwing the switch to turn the equipment back on because somebody leaned up against it and turned it off.
Oh, boy.
You got very disgusted with the number of times you had to get up and do the same thing.
And nobody was the wiser as to they had inadvertently leaned against it and shut the equipment off.
Well, before you ever got out of the sack, you'd ask them, "Did you check the on-off switch?" And they always said yes. And he always went up there and threw it back on.
And you developed a real look at them like, "You idiot."
Yeah.
Or at least made them.
But then you were up and went to have a cup of coffee.
Made them feel like a heel. You were explaining to me earlier that you had spent two different short tours in Korea or off the Korean waters on the USS Cunningham 6 months at a time. And you had explained to me that you were standing next to or pretty close to, what was it, a lifeboat?
It was captain's gig.
Captain's gig. And a shore round came at your ship and had exploded on the captain's gig.
Right.
Would you explain to everybody what that was about?
Well, it was an airburst. I'm walking down the deck, and we had one engine lit off. It was a Sunday morning, and we'd cut the railroad. Our primary duty on the bomb line, what they call the bomb line, was to cut the north-south coastal railway line. And we'd cut a bridge, and we were in there making sure they didn't get it repaired right away. And we came cruising in so we could fire up the mouth of the tunnel with the crew that was fixing it. And as they were at the closest, we had one boiler lid off, we had one 5-inch mount man and two 3-inch mounts man. And I heard this walking down the deck. I heard this funny explosion, and I thought, that's a funny sounding 3-inch. And I stopped and looked up at the 3-inch mount. And there's a bam right next to me, and all around me, I'm standing in a spot not quite as big as this table. It's the only spot I could see that doesn't have shrapnel marks on it. I looked up at the boat. You couldn't put two hands on there and not cover two shrapnel holes in it.
Oh my gosh.
So it was
one step to the left, one step to the right.
Or one step ahead. If that round hadn't gone off and stopped me, I'd have been right in it.
Oh my gosh. That's enough to get your heart going, isn't it? You had you had taken a few direct hits on your ship as well?
They hit us 5 or 6 times. A couple of them were duds. One dud hit the side of the ship and dented it in within 2 inches of the main steam line. And that would have had us dead in the water right at point blank range for the guns.
If that round would have gone off.
Yeah.
So that would have taken care of your function. Well, you said that the USS Cunningham was one of the few ships that did take
direct hits.
Direct hits.
They fired at all 4 of the ships in our division, and they straddled the Blue, which is our flagship, probably 20 times. Never hit it, but we got hit.
Were you taking artillery rounds or rockets or both?
Artillery rounds.
Artillery rounds. And what size? Do you have any idea what size guns they were using?
I have no idea. And primarily, they were airbursts. They were shooting our ammunition at us.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, that's why the round didn't go off, I assume. But it was captured ammunition they were shooting.
Oh, boy. Yeah. And you had mentioned that the Russians were also supplying equipment to North Korea?
The Russians and China kept them well supplied. The Russians supplied the Chinese, so they were flying MiGs. Our division was the only destroyer division that had air-to-sea contact. And I was the Bradford, was attacked by 6 MiGs.
Wonderful.
And no damage done.
And you were able to shoot these MiGs down, or
no.
was there any of the?
It was apparently a very brief engagement. I wasn't there. It was one of our ships. We spread out. Sometimes we're on the East Coast, sometimes we're on the West Coast. They were on the West Coast when that happened.
When you're on a destroyer, now that's not a very large ship by comparison to an aircraft carrier or a cruiser. What is life like aboard a ship for a person? You got to be in tight quarters, and there's got to be a lot of guys there that don't take baths, and that's got to be disgusting.
If they don't take baths, they get thrown in the shower and scrubbed down. We had one kid who absolutely refused to take a bath. He was as filthy as a little pig, and they scrubbed him down about 3 or 4 times. You take a regular scrub brush, throw him in hot water than cold water, and they just about took the hide off him. He finally caught on it was easier to take a shower than to go through the scrub down.
Oh my gosh.
We had less room under cover on a destroyer in the sleeping compartments and under the decks than you have in a submarine.
Less room? Less
room per man.
Oh my gosh. Well, what's the difference in the size of the crew between a submarine and a destroyer?
They have a smaller crew. We had probably 300, right in the area of 300. And a lot of your subs are 150.
And with that many crew members on a destroyer, that means that you have electricians or people in electronics like you. They had machinists, and they would have cooks. They would have radar, sonar.
Yeah, radar, sonar, cooks. You have a repair division. That's what electronics was classified as. You have the ship fitters, you have the engineers, and you have the gunnery.
And were all of these people with these specialty jobs, when time came for battle stations, did everybody have to man a gun They had, was that a secondary job?
You had your battle stations. You had fire control teams that were standing by with the hoses and whatnot, ready to repair any damage. You had your, like I was the lead electronics technician. I was not assigned to repair equipment. I was in control of the fire control radar for the 3-inch gun mounts. Everybody had a different job.
It's obvious that I wasn't a Navy man because sometimes I feel like I just asked a dumb question, but I guess that would be with anybody. Talk Army, I can pretty much relate to you. But this is a photograph of the USS Cunningham as it was. It's an old photograph, but I really thought this was sweet. And there's other photographs here of the USS Cunningham that Dr. Rogers has, kind of like somebody had put together a marvelous history of the ship and the crew. And I'll just show you a few of the photographs, but these are really amazing, and I'm sure that there are very few people who have these kind of books to give them the reminders. I take that this is the captain of the ship?
That's captain, yes. Asa Abel Clark III, he was a commander.
He was?
Yeah.
Okay. And did he eventually get a promotion, or did he stay a destroyer?
I have no idea. He was Asa Abel Clark III. His father was the first, and then there was, believe it or not, there was another unrelated Asa Abel Clark in the Navy at the same time.
Oh my gosh. And this is a photograph of the part of the task force that you were with?
This is our destroyer division, the 4 ships in the destroyer division.
Okay. And who's this gentleman here?
That's the executive officer, Mr. Cox.
Mr. Cox.
Lieutenant Commander Cox.
And I notice here that you have different ones with different officers with the names and photographs of the shipmates here. And when we got done with boot camp, basic training in the Army, we had yearbooks from training, but we never had anything beyond that. Nothing of
Right.
significance that would keep our units as, this was our life kind of thing. And this is really unique because this is our life. It was an old TV show, and this is pretty much dedicated to the life of veterans. But this is a real beautiful photograph of the ship. And you were on this ship. Did you mainly stay?
I slept in the compartment right under the 5-inch gun mount here. There's, well, right in here, a sleeping compartment. Our electronics crew was up right under the bridge, right in front of this part here.
Okay.
This was Combat Information Center here. And we were right next door because that's where most of our work was, on the equipment in there.
Okay. Yeah.
When they were at general quarters at battle stations, there were probably 50 people or more packed into this room.
Oh,
And it would be like you and me and 2 guys in between us. That's how thick they were. When they shot us up there at Thong Jin, we had a piece of shrapnel come in an open door, go across the room, ricochet off a beam, hit another beam, ricochet back across the room, went across that room 4 times, never hit anybody.
Oh,
You couldn't
wow.
have plotted a course that wouldn't hit somebody.
Oh my gosh.
So it was kind of a miracle.
I would say so. That really sounds amazing. And I actually can believe that because I've had experienced similar things myself. I was never aboard a ship during war at all, but where something should have killed you or somebody else,
Yeah.
it never touched.
Yeah, didn't touch any of the equipment.
Mhm.
It didn't touch any person. It's about the size of my fist. Big chunk of shrapnel.
That's a
Yeah,
big one.
that's
That
a
would have
big
tore up a lot of people.
Yeah.
My gosh. And some of these, could you explain to us, and I know these are a lot of photographs to look at, but could you explain to us what's going on here?
Here we're getting a person delivered or taken off the ship by a helicopter. Normally we transport them here on lines between the ships. You throw a line across, and they'd stretch that thing up tight, and you'd haul them across in this little.
Okay.
You're sitting at a little harness with their legs dangling out and attached to the beam.
I know these
There's
ships.
one guy being transferred to sea there. We had to do it when it was calm, or you'd get dipped
I
in
was
the
going
water.
to say this: if the water isn't calm, those ships are bobbing
Yeah.
a lot, and
Occasionally you got dipped when you're going across. We didn't do it too often here, and that's when we're refueling at sea. We've got the fuel line stretched from the tanker to our ship, and down the refueling hole. That took a lot of attention too. Gotta see. This is a tanker here. Here we're firing the K guns, which were anti-submarine depth charges. Refueling, transferring at sea, another transferring at sea. That's a dead body going over. That pretty much covers those.
you have a dead body going. Oh, somebody must have.
Yeah.
Caught one of those
a
unfortunate
pilot that
shrapnels.
didn't survive the crash.
Oh, okay. But anyway, these photographs are these are actually a priceless history of the part of the Korean War. And there is absolutely no way in the world anybody in any war can give you a description of the whole war, because it was so spread out.
It was spread out.
Yeah. And here is, I got to hold this up because this is you were talking about the dud that.
Yeah. This is the dud that caved in the side of the ship and just missed the steam line.
Yeah.
This was the first round. This is the one that went off and stopped me in my tracks and saved me from walking past the gig. It's very hard to see the holes in this thing. You can see some of the larger ones, but there were little pinholes all over that ship, and I was standing practically below it. Apparently, I was behind the davit.
Well, you see, the good Lord kind of figured you had to be around to save my cat.
Yeah.
So I find this so interesting.
You think you'd be frightened with something like that, but it says, hey, it went off, I'm still here, it's not going to happen again.
Here's some of the news clippings that somebody had put into the yearbook that was written up about. Was this your task force or your?
This was our division, destroyer division.
Okay.
With the task force, there was Task Force 77, and there were a lot of ships. There were probably 40, 50 destroyers, a couple aircraft carriers, cruiser or two, usually a battleship.
Now, when you were in Korean waters, did you have more restrictions on the ship as far as noise, movement, or anything like that at night? Or
no lights at night.
Lights.
At night, we would cruise in within point-blank range of the beach, sometimes as close as a mile, 2,000 yards. Most of the time, we tried to stay out about 5,000, but we would come in as close as 2,000 in the dark.
Wow.
Which wasn't very bad until you figured out, how would I take this destroyer if I was a North Korean? And it didn't take you long to figure out, well, if I take a bunch of lifeboats, string them together with rope, we're low in the water, they're not going to pick us up on radar. And if you got us strung out at the right length and they hit that line, it's going to swing us right around to the fantail. And on the fantail, we can just grab the screw guards and we're up on deck.
Wow.
And take you long to figure out that nobody here on this destroyer has any small arms. We got two small arm lockers, one up on the bridge and one aft. You got 4 ways out from below decks is about all. Half a dozen men could take the ship.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't sleep very well after that, especially when we were on the bottom.
It's a heck of a reality check, isn't it?
Yeah.
With your experiences as far as a Navy man is concerned, you went to from Korea to Hong Kong to Japan, different places of port, and I know a lot of these guys had fun. I mean, I made it to Hong Kong myself, and what a fun place. It really was. But it wasn't a fun place for me if I wore an Army uniform because it was mostly Navy.
Yeah, we pretty well populated the port.
And, all these guys walking around in these sailor uniforms, and here comes this dog face and with a green uniform, it was usually confrontation time.
In Japan, in Yokosuka, they had a bar that became known as Fleet Gym Number 2 because of the number of fights in there. They would prearrange fights with the Marines. They'd all come in at a certain night, at a certain time, they'd stand up, push the tables aside, and go to it.
Did anybody charge tickets? Or?
No, I got stuck on shore patrol in there one night. I was afraid it was going to be one of the fight nights, but it wasn't. I survived.
Yeah. Well, shore patrol though with the Navy wasn't rank an essential thing for shore patrol because of mainly attitude of, well, you're just an E4, I'm not going to listen to you kind of thing. Regardless of
you had to be a petty officer to do shore patrol.
You had to be a petty officer,
yeah.
And what is that, E6?
I'm not sure. At first, second, and third class. Went third class, second class, first class, chief.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm still thinking Army here. Ranking in the Navy is a whole lot different.
Yeah.
And so petty officer is...
a non-commissioned officer. It'd be like a corporal, sergeant,
okay.
First sergeant, or whatever. I don't know.
And you were...
When I went on board, I was... third class. When I got out, I was first class.
First class, petty officer. That's pretty good ranking, isn't it?
The only thing higher, you got 2 ranks higher in non-commissioned officers. Your chief and your warrant officer.
With the Korean War itself, I'd like to kind of focus on that a little bit. When you went in 1949, and you were discharged in 1953?
Yeah.
1953, so that gave you a 4-year stint. With that, was that difficult for a lot of the people? They just got done with World War II, just 5 years before this began. With the people in the military or in the Navy, was there a lot of grumbling about that, the Korean War at all?
No.
There wasn't any. And do you remember the civilians?
The ones that grumbled the most were the reservists that got called back in.
Oh, there had to have been quite a few of those people that were World War II veterans.
First cruise, we had a fair number of World War II vets on the ship. Second cruise, they're almost all gone.
And with the only reason they were grumbling because they were reactivated, were these guys were they still pretty much the patriots they were?
Oh yeah.
In World War II itself.
Yeah, Korean War, we were all patriots.
Because I know that there's a huge difference between the Vietnam War and the Korean War as far as attitude was concerned.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite studies in history was the Korean War. I have no idea why. I could never give an explanation to that. But I was already aware when I was a kid. Somebody had told me it was a war nobody wanted to remember, and I couldn't figure out why, because everybody wanted to remember World War II. Why would you want to remember Korea?
Because they got beat.
Badly. And that's when MacArthur had it sewn up and his hands were tied by politics.
Right.
And then that offered the Chinese regular army to come in at 250,000 strong and really wreak havoc on the American troops.
One of my classmates in vet school was a lieutenant in the Army at that time. And he was telling about being on this one hill, and they couldn't shoot the Chinese fast enough. There were so many of them coming that they couldn't kill them fast enough. So they'd sandbag the windows to their bunker so nobody could toss a grenade in, and hunker down and wait. And they'd overrun the hill, and the next day they get pushed back, and our troops would retake it. I thought, boy, am I glad I had a destroyer.
I can empathize, because there were times that I wish I was on a ship in the Vietnam War. But like I said earlier to you, I really found it safer to be in a mud puddle because water. I know I can swim, but it's just that I can't stand up. You know, The bottom isn't there, and that's what bothered me. So.
Well, if you get seasick, it was not the place to be.
I never got seasick on any of the ships that I was on the Great Lakes, but I did have the swimming thing going on in my head. It was, I get on shore and the land was still moving.
Yes.
And I tried to walk normal, and it really wasn't happening. People could see that, I was still, had my sea
I got
legs.
seasick a couple times. I only got land sick once. And got off the ship and we were walking down the street in Yokosuka. And all once my stomach started to roll, I threw up a couple times.
Well, it's amazing. You're no longer moving, but you still are up in your for some reason.
You have your little balancing seeds up here, and you tell where you are by where they are positioned in this arc. So you're used to them going back and forth, and all at once it's sitting in one spot. That gets very irritating. That's how you get land sick.
Oh my gosh!
And when you go to sea, you're not used to having them up here or up here, and they're going back and forth. And that's what makes you seasick.
Oh, okay.
We had one poor kid that got transferred from ADAC. He'd been sent to ADAC for chronic seasickness. He was absolutely useless when we were at sea. I told him not to even show up for muster, just stay in your bunk. He didn't want us to help him. He wouldn't eat anything. He wouldn't take anything. I think we brought down, and we got into port after this. We've been at sea for a month and a half. Got into port, and he shows up for muster, and I didn't even know who he was. Are you an RD?
Poor guy.
And he went from close to 200 pounds down to 165 pounds. He was a walking skeleton, and they would not transfer that kid off.
Oh, gosh.
We tried to transfer him, and Bureau Personnel at Pearl said there is no such thing as chronic seasickness. He's not transferred.
Oh, somebody's got to teach
So
us.
he took up, practically a whole crew took up a position over there. He was no good for anything. I don't think he even had a battle station.
And what was his main job, do you remember?
He was electronics tech.
Electronics.
So we just got along without him. I mean.
Yeah. Oh, man, that poor guy. I hope he still isn't in the Navy.
Felt sorry for him up to a point. Finally just forgot about him.
Forgotten war, forgotten sailor.
Yeah.
Did you ever listen to the distant thunder that was going on while you were close to shore at night in different places?
Oh yes, you could see the smoke, and you could see the bombardment going on. One of the things that the soldiers liked best was having a battleship support fire for them. Actually, they could shoot halfway across Korea, and they were more accurate shooting halfway across Korea than the howitzers were just behind the lines.
Oh my gosh! Well, weren't the guns from the Navy ships radar controlled?
The giant computers on the battleships.
And they would be able to direct those shells. From a battleship shell is about the size of a Volkswagen.
Yeah.
That is huge.
Yeah, they're 16-inch guns. That's 16 inches across. So the shell projectile is this wide and probably longer than, they're huge.
Oh, man.
They regulate by the number of bags of black powder they throw into the breech.
So it's like a muzzle loading system.
It's a breech loading.
Yeah. And these powder bags, how big were these powder bags?
I never had to load one of them. Ours are all encased.
Okay. But these things, when they go off, it's actually it's a bomb. A big shell like that, artillery shell, is a bomb. And when those things would go off, I saw the effects when I was in the Mekong on how these shells would absolute destruction of anything that it came in contact with.
Yeah, well, they penetrated good too because of their size.
They were incredible.
We had one point over there that was actually cliffs sticking out, and they had some 8-inch guns out there. And for some reason, they hated destroyer minesweepers. They let us destroyers go by without ever shooting at us. We'd whiz up and down there, and they'd do nothing. This poor destroyer minesweeper would go by, and they'd open up on him every time. They killed 4 chief quartermasters on the deck on that boat.
They didn't like.
And when they killed the fourth one, the brass got ticked off, and they sent a battleship down there, and they just leveled that cliff.
I'll bet.
Next time I went by there, you didn't even know where you were because there was just a pile of rubble going out there.
Lord, they must have bombarded that for a while.
Yeah, it took them all day. But they'd sent us in. The point is sticking out like this, and they'd sent us in, and we dropped anchor here. The guns are out here. We dropped anchor and sent a big landing party. We had 50 rocks with us. We sent them over on a landing party. The primary mission was to anchor there and see if these guns could trade around and shoot at you. Obviously they couldn't because they didn't do it. We're sitting there like sitting ducks.
Man, that's you. What were the most comical moments that you remember being aboard your ship?
I mean, battle-wise, or
well, actually, okay, battle-wise and also non-battle-wise.
yeah. Well, battle-wise, we're on the bomb line, and the captain clears the land side of the ship because we're getting fire. I get out my binoculars, I look at shore, and here's two soldiers sitting down there with their rifles, drinking sake. Every once in a while they'd have to take a shot at the ship. And they came close enough on occasion so you could see where kicked up water. Well, the captain stood there for maybe half an hour. Finally, he swings the 5 inches around. Soldiers' eyes, you can practically see them pop through the binoculars. They grab their stuff and they take off up the hill. They got about halfway up the hill and the airburst went off right over them and powdered them.
Drinking sake and taking pot shots. That is funny.
One other time, there was on a sand spit, they had a gun emplacement. I think it was probably a 6-inch. And we're coming along at about 10,000 yards, and we're watching the crew run out and man this gun port. Well, the last guy in reaches out and he pulls the hatch shut. And as he pulled it shut, our first round went through their gun port.
Oh, wow.
And he comes sailing out there, still hanging onto the door and all. I'm sure he was not a survivor.
Oh, no, that wouldn't sound like he would be at all. What were some of the most comical moments you had that did not involve?
Not involve that?
Yeah.
Oh, wasn't much anything funny other than
Nothing but
things like that. We'd go over, we'd swim off the ship on days when it was calm, and we're down in South Korean waters. North Korean, you didn't do anything, you paid attention. We had beer parties. We had one beer party. We were 5 miles behind the lines, and they carried more beer than I thought they could put on board a ship. Had cases and cases though in the hold.
And these were the tin cans.
Yep.
At that time, they didn't have the aluminum cans, and they had the seam on them.
Yeah.
And we had those as well. And any of them that were rusted, they always give them to the newbies. They'd say rusted seam. They'd just give it to the new guys that came. They wouldn't drink those. And there was actually, I remember there were some guys that had strong enough hands that I could actually crush those tin cans. Those tin cans were tough, really tough. And I could bend them, but I couldn't crush them down like some of the guys could.
Yeah, we were shore, and everybody was essentially in the same bar that was down in Formosa. And I'm pretty drunk, and this one quartermaster wasn't very well liked. Says, "I'm the target ship," and he gets up and he trots along the wall. And everybody's throwing empty cans at him. Turns around and comes back. A guy hit him in the head with a full one.
Oh,
Dropped him like a rock.
Yeah, that'd do it.
That ended that.
That would definitely do it.
Down in Formosa, also, we just missed the last boat back to the ship, and so we're trying to find a guy, a bumboat guy to take us back. Everything is deserted. We're standing there in the dock, and we hear this pow, pow. We're saying pow, pow, pow. It's getting closer and closer, and then we start hearing these running footsteps. And here comes the kid off our ship, tearing down the street. He gets about at the end of the dock, and 4 soldiers come around the corner 2 blocks away, squat down and start shooting. He runs by us. He says, "They're shooting at me. Get out of here." He drove off the end of the dock, and we followed him. Swam back to the ship. And there's no boat. I was the first one back. I come up and request permission to come aboard, sir. And the officer of the deck does a double take. He says, "Where's the ship? Where's your boat?" I said, "No boat. We had to swim."
He must have really made somebody awful mad in order to get guys to shoot at him.
It was just out after curfew. They didn't care what you were. If you were out after curfew and you didn't stop, they shot.
Oh.
And he says, "I'm not getting in their jail. I'm going back to the ship."
Ooh.
We're just sitting there talking, wondering what we're going to do when he came by.
Out after curfew, that'll do it.
And they didn't stop shooting. They came down on the dock. They were shooting at us in the water.
Oh, Lord.
They were serious.
Apparently so. It's a good thing none of you got hit.
They came close.
Woof. And where you said this was in Formosa?
Yeah.
Lord, was that martial law in that area?
Yeah.
Oh, well, no wonder. Okay, martial law.
We're tied up there, and once we noticed that there's a bumboat going around this ship, and there's another boat with a police officer in it following it, and they're just about polar opposites. One boat would go around the bow, the other one would go around the stern. And the policeman would get in about one shot every time they made a round. And finally, he just stopped and waited at the tail of this guy. He's really working the sweep on that thing. He comes around the corner, the guy's standing there with his rifle waiting for him. That was the end of it. Apparently they were throwing stuff off the ship to it, and he was picking it up.
Oh, that's serious.
So they got him.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Everybody's out there cheering for him. Wait there! Stop!
The sense of humor that the military and naval personnel have is really not like civilian life. I mean, the humor that I remember a lot of people in civilian life would consider weird. But when you're in the service, that humor becomes a real important part of survival and coping, and that's why so many joking issues and funny issues are so funny to the soldiers. And it's a real good coping mechanism. I like that a lot, and that's why I'm asking about the humor, because that humor, without that, I don't think a lot of soldiers would have been very sane.
Yeah, one of our favorite things when it was very boring was to start a rumor, and then time it to see how long it took it to come back up to you, and if you could recognize it. And we found out the fastest one came back went from our quarters under the bridge back to the fantail and back up to us. It was a little over a minute. We recognized that one. If it went through more than one person, you weren't sure whether it was a rumor you started or not. If it went through 2 or 3, no recognition at all, which made you believe that you don't believe anything you hear unless you can prove it. And that stayed with me my whole life. Memories of that
analogy, yeah.
Go through two people and it's completely changed.
It's amazing how that. I was actually watching an old movie on Turner Classics a couple of nights ago, and it was a parody with the soldiers, how the rumor line was going, and there was a story being passed down from the front of the ranks all the way to the back of the ranks, and I think the ranks was stretched out over a mile, and this poor guy on the end didn't have anybody to tell, and so by the time he turned around, he was going to get ready to tell him, nobody there, and he had this look on his face like it was so disappointing that he didn't have anybody to tell. And by the time the story got to him, it wasn't the story that had started at the front. It was so completely blown out of proportion.
Right, absolutely
it was totally different. But the look on his face made me laugh because I recognized that so well. Almost like an Abbott and Costello gig that they usually pull, like Who's on First. Mm-hmm. So, but those days of Korea, though, it was brought to my attention actually a little bit ago that Wisconsin is going to erect a memorial to the Korean War veteran. Do you have any idea what this is about, or have you ever heard about that?
I read about it in the paper the other day.
It's about time, because the Korean War veterans really don't have a whole lot to their credit.
Yeah.
And
We didn't ask for much.
apparently not. The Vietnam veterans were very well aware of the Korean veterans and how that was kept quiet. Nobody really wanted anything like that, and they weren't about to be forgotten. And I don't know how this made the Korean War veterans feel. Did you have any input about the differences between the Korean and the Vietnam War as far as the veterans themselves were concerned, and the attention that the veterans were plugging away of receiving?
Well, we were just kind of ignored, but the Vietnam vets were vilified by a lot of people. And that would really sit poorly with me if they'd done that to me.
Yeah, I suppose. Is that difference because of the patriotism that was so encompassed into the older soldier, or was that because of attitude, do you think? Or
I think part of each.
So I remember when I went to I tried to join a VFW club back in the 70s, and there was a couple of old soldiers sitting there, and I pretty much recognized that they were World War II veterans. And of course, I was born and raised in the shadow of World War II, and there was veterans everywhere when I was a kid, and that was a real big deal. It was even then. And when I went to the VFW club, I wanted to join, and I was turned down, actually, at that time. And one of the veterans sitting there said, we don't recognize the crybabies from Vietnam. And that hurt a great deal.
It hurt. They were in worse action practically than the ones in World War II, because you didn't get shot at from behind in World War II. You knew who was before you and who was against you. You got into Vietnam and into Iraq now, and you don't know who's who.
Yeah.
They'll talk to you on the street and slit your throat at first opportunity.
Yeah, and I've pretty much gotten over that, and there's been a few people that have asked me to join the VFW now, and they would welcome me now by comparison to them, because the feelings have changed. It's because of understanding and the history that people have learned from. Mm-hmm. And doing this show pretty much gives me the same feeling of a cooperative effort to keep the veterans known, to keep the history going, and to contribute to the veterans themselves. I have a great deal of respect for any veteran. It doesn't matter if you were combat or if you were non-combat. It doesn't matter to me, because you still served a great purpose to help the entire string of the operation. And
most of the time, you have no choice of where you go. They send you where they want you and where they need you.
Where it's needed, absolutely. And this has to do with logistics. It has to do with who's the best fit here, who's best fit there. How is this going to operate as one unit, so to speak? And but with the Korean War veterans that I had such an admiration for, they were quiet. They were very quiet. By comparison to the other veterans, and I found that very interesting. And even today, some of the Korean veterans that I speak to are still quiet, but they're not angry. They're not. They're just really unique. I consider them very unique, and I could never really say enough about the Korean veteran, because that's good, because everything is good and very interesting to me anyway, and I'm sure that is for a lot of other people.
Yeah. Well, they were going to draft me, that's why I enlisted, but I had no resentment. fact, they're going to draft me.
Were there a lot of college students that
Yes.
were drafted out
Yeah.
at that time?
Yeah, a lot of the guys aboard ship were college students.
And did any of them ever get to finish their degrees before that, or at the time that they were just finishing up?
They had correspondence courses aboard ship. We had several of them that were taking college-level courses, but nobody ever finished in that length of time. I went to school on the GI Bill. I saved it for veterinary college because I knew that was going to be a period when I couldn't work, or
Oh, sure.
very apt not to work.
That's a lot of dedication and time
Yeah.
involved in that. How long did that take you to get through veterinary medicine?
Well, I had 2 years before I went into the service.
Uh-huh.
It took me a year in the summer session to get the needed requirements after I got out, and 4 years in vet school.
4 years of vet school.
Now you have to have like a degree, like 3 or 4 years before you get in.
And a lot of this was paid for through the GI Bill from your time in service. And that's really an important part and a real important issue, because unfortunately now our now president has been finding ways to cut out veterans' benefits.
Yeah.
And education is
Well, that's one of them.
unfortunately
That's one of them that they really need to keep.
they should. All of our veterans, they're very, very functional, very useful to society when they get back after doing such a horrendous job in the first place. And to take their education and whittle it away, to me, is a travesty.
Mm-hmm.
With these GIs today in Iraq coming home, are they, do you think that they're going to have as much to them, as far as benefits are concerned? Are they going to have to fight for it? Or
They're going to have to fight for it just like everybody else did. After every war, they've got to fight for it.
Yeah, and that shouldn't be, but unfortunately it is. Do you, as a Navy man, recommend more people go in the Navy and avoid the ground pounding? I mean, I was encouraged actually to go in the Navy.
With the modern missiles and things they've got, I would not want to be on a battleship or a big ship that they could waste a missile on.
Yeah, I suppose. That would
You're
make
sitting
sense.
right out there exposed to everything. It's great to get your battleships over there, but we're fighting a enemy who does not have the sophisticated weapons. You start fighting Russia and stick your aircraft carriers out there, and they aren't going to be there long.
Yeah, they've got those missiles one missile can take out an entire
Yeah.
ship.
And it's hard to miss when you're the only thing out there sticking up above the water.
I suppose. I had read an article in the paper that there is a development of a submarine with a landing deck on it. Now, what that is for, I have no idea.
Probably helicopters.
But a submarine with a landing deck.
It was, even way back then, we were doing anti-sub warfare at Pearl Harbor, and the submarine could go faster underwater than we could go on the surface.
Really? Wow.
You only go so fast and your sonar quits reading because of turbulence, and they could go faster than we could go and keep sonar contact. So we had helicopters out there, and they'd drop a sonar down, a sonar buoy, and that would tell us where the sub was in relation to it. And we'd go charging over there. Very frustrating.
I'll bet it would be, yeah. But you were in at the real crucial time of the Cold War too, and you were in the military at that time.
Yeah. The submarines we ran into over there were Russian subs. So they did not have the option of surfacing. If you damaged them badly, they had to stay down, or take one for the motherland.
Did you roll depth charges on any of them?
Yeah, we had one that pops its periscope up right on the edge of the Task Force 77 with its great big screen of destroyers. Somehow he got by. We're on the outer edge. We picked up contact at the same time one of the carriers reported the periscope. What he was doing putting his periscope up, I have no idea. But he'd been laying mines in front of the task force, hoping that we'd run into him. And the captain is radioing for permission to attack, and our depth charges are going off, our K guns are firing, and we dropped a load of depth charges right down the full length of that sub.
Permission to attack. Boom.
I was in Combat Information Center at the time, and I could hear the transmission at the same time as the depth charges are already going off. So
Only asked permission.
He didn't waste time.
Yeah.
Eventually, we sunk that one, but it took us 3 days to actually finish him off.
So he was pretty much.
He was badly damaged, but he sent up oil slicks, he sent up debris, everything else. And he'd sit there and listen, and you'd hear him start up his engines, and we'd pick him up again and make another run on him. And eventually we tracked him down deep enough so it was crushing depth. He had to go.
Oof.
But we would play cat and mouse with those subs all the time.
Was that a common occurrence for these subs to constantly
try to lay mines? Yeah. And we'd pick them up along the Korean coast, and then we'd follow them, or try to follow them. The bottom there was very irregular, so all they had to do was drop down to the bottom, and they'd disappear. You couldn't pick them up on sonar. And we'd shut everything off and sit there and listen. Pretty soon you hear the rum, here he come. Get up close enough, we'd start up our engines, make a run on him. He'd drop to the bottom, and we'd throw depth charges where we thought he was. And he'd just lay there. And after a day of running back and forth over him, we'd take off, we'd go up the coastways, shut off the engines and wait for him.
You see, as much as I studied about the Korean War, I had absolutely no idea that the Russians were that involved. I mean, that's really super involved.
We had a sub sitting off the mouth of Vladivostok Harbor. His sole job was to count the number of subs leaving. And anytime they figured more than 2/3 or 3/4 of them were out, they were supposed to be atom bombed, or the sub pens were going to be wiped out.
Oof. Now, didn't China have a navy too, where they?
They didn't use their navy up there. It was just strictly land.
So the Russians took the navy part, and the Chinese took the army part.
Yeah.
And so the involvement of the Korean War was a whole lot more in depth than people really realized.
Yeah. You remember back, you probably don't, but there were reports of this plane being shot down by those horrible Russians 200 miles out at sea. It was out there doing nothing. Well, we were in a task force that went up looking for him. We got up to where the battle line ended and Russian territory began, and they sent in 3 subs and a cruiser. The rest of the task force stayed below the line. We were looking for survivors from this plane within sight of the 2 hills that flank Vladivostok Harbor. You could see the 2 hills. We stopped the fishing boat going back. We did not search it. We just hailed them, asked them if they'd seen any survivors, and no, and they go steaming out. By the time they got close enough shore so we couldn't catch them again, we found the life raft with a couple ID cards shoved under the seat. So that plane had been a reconnaissance plane taking pictures of Vladivostok. And they shot him down. I didn't blame them a bit. What the people heard was it's something entirely different. So you don't know what you're.
It's really tough to get any straight information.
You don't get anything straight.
So that would make, actually, this might sound a little weird, or tacky, but to run a war, information is your greatest weapon.
Yeah.
And so.
And what the people at home get is disinformation.
Just like from the internet.
Yeah. Well, look what they said in Iraq. Oh, there's 3,000, 6,000 insurgents. All once it became 130,000 insurgents.
Sure. And there was an awful lot of weapons of mass destruction that we haven't found yet.
Yeah.
So, but they're there.
Oh, yes. They're definitely there. They're buried.
But I did see some photographs, however, of some of the military in Iraq today that had actually uncovered some I think they were MiGs, and that had been buried along with an entire bevy of ammunition that went with it. Mm-hmm. And so it's possible that they're there.
It's possible that they're there, but you're not going to find them unless somebody tells you.
Yeah, and some people know where they're at, but they had to they had to use bulldozers to dig out these MiGs.
Mhm.
They were totally buried, and apparently covered up so that the sand wouldn't get into any of the components. So they knew what they were
cocooned 'em.
doing.
Yeah, they cocooned them first.
Yeah, they knew exactly what they were doing, and that's a possibility that they had the weapons of mass destruction in there as well.
Well, we know it.
someplace.
We know at one time they had the nerve gases and stuff because they used them on the Iranians.
With the Korean War, was there any gas used in that war?
Not to my knowledge.
See, when I was in Vietnam, the only gas that we ever encountered was CS gas, and they usually used that in the tunnels and the underground bunkers to discourage you from ever getting inside. But regardless of that, Korea was an incredible war for any of the Americans. It was even some of the World War II vets that I had spoken to, they said that were there, they said it was nothing like World War II. It was completely different and almost unbearable. They said especially the weather. The weather was just incredible.
Well, they got way up north there and the winter hit them and they just froze.
Oh, those poor guys. Well, we've only got like 2 minutes left, and I really want to thank you so much for coming on. I hope I didn't talk too much, but I wanted you to do most of it. But actually, I was trying to search for things because I'm still not a Korean War veteran, never have been, never will be. But this war is something that we really need a lot more people to speak with, and I'd like to be able to also speak with the families of the veterans because they have the stories as well. And it's a wonderful thing for our community in the Chippewa Valley to be able to have this history. And we have a wonderful veterinarian doctor here who is a part of that. And he used the GI Bill to go to school. And all of the other veterans are going to want to go to school so that they can improve their lot in life, and we really need to hold on to these benefits. Dr. Rogers, thank you so very much for your time.
My pleasure.
I really appreciate it. And I'd like to actually, if I get another Korean War veteran, would you be willing to come back on?
Certainly.
Great. I really thank you very much.
You need one of the foot soldiers that was up in...
That would be good because then I have both perspectives on that. Well, thank you so very much for joining us. I'm Craig Yamauchi, your host. This is Dr. Will Rogers, and we hope to see you soon.